So, welcome to Missing the Shift. On today's episode, I'm joined by Leslie Urbas. And Leslie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And Leslie is a registered dietitian, personal trainer, and a nervous system expert with over 15 years of experience. She started as an active-duty Navy dietitian, and we certainly thank you for your service. And so now she spends time helping midlife women break their generational bonds of shame and guilt and people pleasing through self acceptance and inner peace using digestive codes and somatic experience. Again, Leslie, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me here today.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so that intro really does that a good place, but I really help women to reduce that shame and guilt around life in all forms, right? Body, exercise, health, wealth, people pleasing in general nature of all of it. And really midlife, because that is a shift for most women. And I like to go towards the positive of learning how your body works for you, stepping into understanding what's happening under the surface so you can spend the next decades of your life really in control and understanding what's happening to you so you know who to call on and how to get the right help instead of just guessing.
Right. And so did you find that, like, I know a lot of women and even men find that, in midlife that, like you said, that is where that shift occurs. And so did you see that that's like an area that really needs attention, or because I know some people say, well, if you take care of your body when you're young, your body will be fine when you're older. And so, do you believe in that analogy, or do you think, we sometimes it's just our body?
I love to bring Arnold Schwarzenegger into this one, and even Tony Robbins, if you're familiar with either one of them. Those two
Absolutely.
people took care of their bodies really well, right? Okay. And they did a lot
Hmm.
of things. You could add any bodybuilder, and most of those people actually have more of a risk of prediabetes and other things just based on the dieting and stuff that they've done. And if you, like Tony Robbins has shared about his journey of just like overtraining, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is still really fit, right? But as
Hmm.
you can see, if you look at Arnold Schwarzenegger today versus even after the bodybuilding when he was just in his acting career, you can see a shift in the body. So I find that it's just in general for everybody that your body is shifting through life. And yes, if you're healthy when you're young, but the thing is that healthy is such a broad term, right? Just
Right.
because you look a
Hmm.
certain way and you have a shape a certain way does not mean you're healthy. And in Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, his most recent one, it's one word. I cannot think of the name of it right now. But he actually talked about how the first time he went up for Mr. Universe, he lost because he didn't have chiseled abs because his diet was actually terrible, right? He had to go
Right.
back and work on the diet to actually have the concaved in stomach instead of the
Hmm.
bloated belly. And so, yeah, so it's really just health is in the eye of the beholder, truthfully. So
Right.
just because you look good growing up does not mean your health will be great when you're older.
Yeah, and I so my background is a paramedic and a firefighter for over 30 years, and I retired from that. But you're exactly right. I mean, I've had men and women that have passed away really unexpectedly, and that's what the family says. I mean, they're like, he was in the gym every day and he was healthy and he just went for a checkup, and we just don't understand. So absolutely, I can understand that. Yeah, because just because you're healthy on the outside doesn't mean the inside. And so the areas that you concentrate on, you struggled in some of those as well. Like, you didn't just decide, hey, I want to be a personal trainer, I want to be a dietitian. Like, you actually lived, the things that you're teaching today. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I was always athletic built, right? And I was
Hmm.
born in the 80s, right? I just turned 40 a few days ago. And in the 80s, skinny was the key, right? Like, I'm trying to think of like buns of steel and, like the
Right.
old, like
Yeah, absolutely.
sweating to the oldies, right? And those
Yeah.
women some of those leotards have come back in style. Now at this point, we got to focus on that. But
Right.
like they were super skinny. The goal was skinny. You didn't see women with a lot of muscles, and health was not talked about in the way that it was now, right? And
Hmm.
so I knew skinny was key. And even though I knew that, it didn't really set in until I was a freshman in high school. And
Mhm.
I played softball in high school. And it was the first week of school when my high school softball coach told me I would never play varsity because I was too fat to play varsity. And I remember being like, I have no idea what she's even talking about. Like, I see a doctor all the time. The doctor
Right.
tells my mom I'm athletic. My height is a little taller. My weight fits my height, right? I'm not skinny. I knew that my
Mhm.
entire life I was never skinny. But less than 5 days later, a girl in my class actually, we sat next to each other due to alphabetical order in most of the
Right.
classes that we had. We were in like 4 of the 6 together that we had that semester. And I asked her to hang out that weekend. And she's like, I'm super sorry, but like, we don't hang out with people your size.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, I went into the bathroom at my high school in St. Louis, Missouri. And I remember just looking in the mirror and like, I saw everything. I saw every pimple on my face. I saw every zit. I saw
Mhm.
whatever you want to call them. I saw the chubby cheeks. I saw the arms. I saw the legs. I saw like, right, she's right. Like, who do I even think I am? And once you see that as your body that way, you don't typically unsee it. And that's something I want to normalize for people. The moment
Right.
somebody calls you thunder thighs or lets your body know that you are human, right? And like lets you know the thing that's wrong with your body, that becomes a voice in your head that we typically take on, right? So
Right.
my
Mhm.
voice, my inner mean girl voice that comes out when I'm worried about my body is always like, you're fat, right? And so on the
Right.
day that she pops up, she comes around, I hear her and she's just like, you're fat. And I'm like, oh, here we are again. What are we doing here? Hey, girl, glad you showed up today.
Right.
But, and so now I can walk through those things. But ideally, truthfully, in my high school years, I dieted like crazy. Back then, think Weight Watchers, like way back in the point system days,
Mhm.
Atkins had just come around. That's when the protein bar phase actually kind of started. And I tried everything. And no matter what I tried, I actually wound up leaving high school, I want to say 22 pounds heavier than the day I started high school.
Right. Mhm.
And yeah, and I actually weighed more on the day I graduated high school than on both of the days I gave birth to my children,
Wow.
who made it all the way to the end of my pregnancy. It wasn't like they were preemies or anything. And
Right.
that's why I decided to be a dietitian. I thought, well, I'm not doing something right, right? I've gone 4 years. I'm 22 pounds heavier. I might as well go learn how to eat right, right?
Mhm.
And while that did help, and when I got to college, I'd love to say that I did the right things. I did not. I got to college and you didn't start your nutrition, the first year's all gen ed, right? And so in
Right.
my gen ed classes, I just had this awakening of like, if I don't get started now, who's going to want to see me as a dietitian if I look like this? So with mom and dad away and living in a dorm, I decided to eat very little. I lived on about 300 calories. And that's when I started my excessive exercise
Mhm.
career, where I would work out about 4 hours a day, eat about
Oh,
300
wow.
calories. Only did I allow myself 400 calories if I saw stars more than 3 times in the day. And I
Right.
did that for about 21 days and I lost 15 pounds and it was amazing. But my cousin figured it out, told my mom, and I refused to like get help. So I started eating more, but still less, and started to really abuse exercise, right? Graduated with my degree from college and understood nutrition better enough to keep my weight where I wanted to, but I was still abusing exercise, which is really why I stepped into personal training, right? What better way to learn than to help yourself, right? But
Right.
really, truthfully, while these things helped, nothing ever fully clicked until I added the third component of really stepping into digestion codes, somatic work, nervous system work to really be able to keep my body at a weight healthfully without having to do some sort of extreme diet, extreme supplements, extreme exercise, right? And so that's really, I mean, truthfully, why I took it on. I'd love to say I became a dietitian because I just knew I was supposed to be. And maybe that's true, but I really just wanted
Right.
to solve my own weight problem. And I thought, what better way to do it? So,
Right. Absolutely.
yeah.
And so, yeah, so tell us a little bit, because I know one of your blog posts talks about kind of what you just talked about, that, you found that, you know, through all the exercise, you were actually gaining weight. And so tell us a little bit about the digestive code. And is that you write on your website that you really couldn't hear your inner voice back then. And so you took time and started to, I guess, to hear your inner voice. And, so was that part of the digestive code, or was that just something separate? Or, expand on that a little bit for us so that yeah.
Yeah, I definitely became a part of the digestion code. It is. So I say the digestion code uses something called the MINE method, MINE,
Mhm.
because it truthfully is yours. There's no double
Right.
digestion codes. You can't go find somebody else's and do yours. It's very much inner. And the first piece, the M piece, is the mind body connection. So I used to call this mindset, but it really just doesn't encompass it. You cannot think your way out of what's happening inside your body. So the vagus nerve is a nerve that runs from basically our brainstem down through our digestion, right? And
Right.
the vagus nerve controls all of your healthy eating. It includes digest, rest, all of these things, right? And so
Hmm.
most of us are offline with that. We're not actually in a safe place for our body to be functioning and performing at the level that we need to be because we're humans living in 2025 or later, right? Where
Hmm.
there's no longer a tiger in the woods we're chasing after. We're chasing after our phone, the tiger in the woods, right? It's like
Right. Right.
the phone is with us all the time and our tiger is always calling us, right? And
Right.
so we live at this higher level. And so the mind body connection is really where I started to, as I stepped into understanding what my inner voice was of like, you need to stop exercising. Like you've done an efficient amount for today, right?
Right.
Listening to my body actually tell me things, right? I mean, I got a back infection in my spine. I had a cyst on my vocal cords. I have broken like 4 or 5 bones and nothing was stopping me to listen, even though my body was letting me know, hey, you're in fight, flight, functional freeze. You're in this high ultra state until I really started to listen to that voice using the mind body connection through somatic work, nervous system resetting, things like that. And then that ties into the internal piece of our internal mechanism is supposed to work efficiently. Okay. We
Right.
know that from birth, we don't have to tell a baby, okay, time to cry because your diaper is wet, right? The baby
Right.
cries,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
Baby cries because the baby's hungry, right? But all of those mechanisms are turned off in us, right? We go to school. You don't get to eat now because you're hungry. It's not lunch. You can't drink water now because some schools still don't allow water bottles. You can't go to the bathroom. You just were supposed to go, right? So all of these things are telling you silence all of your internal ways of being to fit into the mold, right?
Yeah,
And
my
so,
son used to say he wouldn't go to the bathroom at school
mhm.
because the teacher, he would take a little bit longer. And so the teacher kept knocking and are you okay? And it just embarrassed him. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And so that
he's probably
becomes
going to kill me
real.
for saying that. Yeah.
That's okay.
But
I
yeah.
won't judge him. That's so normal. Like it's
Yeah.
so normal because some kids take a little longer. Some kids are more nervous in public settings. Um, and some kids will hold till the very last second so they know they won't take long in the bathroom.
Mm,
Right.
right.
And so then it can become an issue where like now they've waited too long and there's a slight accident, but they don't want to tell anybody. Right. And so then the parent notices later, et cetera. Right. But that internal mechanism is gone. And that's why we can sit at our computers for 5 hours and not eat, drink, or go to the bathroom because we've turned it off. But doing that, not eating, drinking, or going to the bathroom can cause more nervous system upset. Like I tell everybody, if for 1 week, every time you were thirsty, you drank, every time you were hungry, you ate, every time you had to pee or go number 2, you immediately went, you can shift your internal mechanism. Your nervous system can start to step into, oh, I'm safe. She's listening. Like, I'm
Right.
safe. She's listening. My digestion can start to play a little better here, right?
Hmm.
The N piece is all about nutrition. Everybody's is a little bit different, right? And so, as I was talking about the different diets, people are like, oh, so you're going to tell me a diet. I don't actually say the diet. We figure out what's best for you. Some people can do good with intermittent fasting. So I'm not going to tell them they can't.
Right.
I'm going to explain the pros and cons, why it's good for them, why whatever, right? And so we're going to talk about that. And then the E is really exclusively made for you because all of this is different for every single person. And your
Hmm.
code
Absolutely.
is something different. And the tools that you need are unique to you so you can build the body you want without having to push. And that's just the
Right.
thing. like
Yeah,
no
and I think
question.
that's important because like most people look and they're like, well, look at look at Tom over here. I mean, he works out every day and he's skinny and he eats what he wants, and so the gym must work. And
Hmm.
so, it's good to hear that because what would you tell somebody that's like, okay, well, Leslie, Tom over here works out every day and he's in the gym and he's fit and he, um, so why doesn't it happen to me? I mean, you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah. And typically what I will say is there's probably something that's missing in the nervous system. Your body doesn't
Right.
feel safe to even be at a different weight. I mean, Oprah talked about it a lot from her standpoint of all the things that she endured as a child and why her
Mm-hmm.
struggle with weight was so big. So I know she talked about it and a few other people. I'm not saying you have to have big T trauma, little T trauma can add up. Just not being able to go to the bathroom at school will shift the way your metabolism works. It will shift the
Right.
way it works. If your nervous system, the feelings in your body, that vagus nerve is not safe, it will not expel weight. It will not allow you to do the thing you want to do. And that was what was the problem in high school. The moment I hit into, I hate my body, I was sending all these signals to my body about how much I disliked it. And I was fighting or flighting against my own body. Well, eventually
Right.
that put me into freeze. And when you're in freeze, your metabolism goes to the floor, right? It's like it doesn't work. Your
Right.
digestion doesn't work. That's why people get bloated and they feel tired. And, because I was young, I could still, use the youth towards me to
Right.
like
Mm-hmm.
push all the things. But in your adulthood, you can't anymore. Like those things will outweigh. You're just so exhausted. Then you go to the gym in fight, flight, or freeze, hoping it helps. And then 2 days later, you're like, I can't keep this up. I'm so exhausted because the gym is actually increasing fight, flight, or freeze. Like we know that we're causing
Right.
our body to go into this mechanism. And because we never come back to like a healthy baseline, something has to go. So what goes? The gym,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know?
So that's why you talk about like you were overworked, overstressed. I mean, those are key factors too, as well, correct?
Yeah, truthfully, I was stuck into people pleasing, right? And that was
Mm-hmm.
true even for the weight. Like I was like, okay, all right. I remember like that night going home and being like, okay, what, what, what is beautiful? What constitutes
Mm-hmm.
it? And I mean, I remember the definition in my mind being a 6'2", 110-pound woman. And I'm 5 foot
Right.
7 and like on my like least amount of weight that I've ever weighed, at this height, it's like 135, right?
Right.
And so that was where I was. And that was technically ideal body weight for my stature.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't matter. Like I was like, okay, I've got to get to be 5'2" and 110 pounds. Like I was going to shrink or something. I had an inconceivable place to even go to, right? But the moment that
Right.
I put that, I was fighting against my body. So my body would be like, you're tired, you need to rest. I'd be like, no, we don't need to rest. Okay. I started waking up when I was 16 years old at 5 a.m. in the morning to walk with my mom. And when I would get home and I would run on top of it, plus play sports. And I watched everything that I ate as much as I possibly could. But I was fighting against now a like bottom baseline metabolism as I was fighting against my own body and its needs. So it's never going to efficiently help me to lose weight and to step into who I needed to be because it was never protected. It was never safe. It was fighting me, really.
Right. And of course, the show is called Missing the Shift. And, Missing the Shift is, to those who have listened, I mean, it's basically you make a mistake and, how do you overcome that? Right. And so you felt that like at 17 years old, this is what you wanted to do. Right. But you waited until you were about 32 in order to fully embrace becoming, a dietitian and a personal trainer and this approach. So, what any regrets on waiting or, tell us a little bit about that. And for somebody that may be sitting there saying, well, I'll do it later, I'll do it later. And it's just not for me. So how did you overcome that?
Yeah. So at 17, I knew I wanted to go in this direction to really figure all this out. I wanted to
Right.
solve the puzzle that was sitting in front of me. And I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to do it my own way, right? The things that I've always succeeded in my life were always done in my own way. Like I remember showing up to high school and I was in honor science and math because I'm so left brained. However,
Right.
I somehow got myself into like an honors English class my sophomore year, and the teacher loved me, but I was not really an honors English student. I wasn't that smart in that, but he loved how I created my own way of even getting into this honors class, that he kept me in honors English for the next 2 years because he just wanted me
That's
as a
awesome.
student.
Right.
Right. And so it's like,
Right.
so I knew that I had this magical way about me of like creating what I wanted, and I could do anything, but I wasn't taught fully to follow your dreams. I was taught to follow your dreams with like a buffer, right? Like you don't want to
Right.
wind up in the like non-safe zone or not protected or things like that. So even though at 17, I knew, I was like, I want to go, I want to do this on my own. I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to run my own business. I never really did that well working for other people. I really hated when I was in the Navy, because you talked about it. My biggest thing, because I went back to the job as I worked as a civilian too, was when
Right.
everybody would no show and it'd be a Friday and I'd have no clients left at 1:00, but I'd have to stay till 4. And I'm like, gravity's got the chair. Let me go, like
Right.
I'm good
Yeah.
to go. Right. Like, let's get
Right.
out the door. Right. But it was like, you couldn't. And that was the thing I hated the most. So honestly, going like, if I could go back, I wouldn't want to change anything, because then I could, for some odd reason, miss the mark to marry my husband, to have our beautiful children.
Right.
Right. So I
Absolutely.
don't want to
Yes.
shift there. However, in that mindset, the only thing I would care to change would be to shift me and my personal development journey and to start a little sooner. Right.
Right.
But that's just for me to like up level even those kinds of things. But even there, like, could I have missed the mark and not wanted to talk to my husband? I don't know. Right. So I
Right.
don't like to live in regrets. The thing I like to know is that what everybody needs to hear is that you get to be who you were meant to be. And if we just
Mhm.
allowed everybody to follow their soul's purpose, the world would be so much better. Like, stop pressuring our kids to be lawyers and pharmacists or whatever, and all the things that we think they should be, and just let them be. Right. And so that's really
Right.
where I feel like I'm making up the shift, is through my own children. Right. My daughter wants to be a cook and an artist and something else. And she's like, can I do it? I was like, do you think you can? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay, great. So go create it. It's
I
like
think
Bo
that's awesome.
Eason's book. Yeah. I don't know if you've read Bo Eason's book, but it's called No Plan B for Your A Game. And he talks about his
Right.
son. I don't know where his son is at this point, because this book was written maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But his son wanted to be the first person ever to play, I believe, professional football and basketball, or football and baseball. There are two opposing seasons with just a little bit of overlap. And so he was helping his kid, getting him all the right
Right.
people for nutrition and all the things, to do this. And I'm like, I'm
Right.
so curious, because he probably did. Right. There was no
Yeah.
talking down. So that would be the only thing I would shift, is like, let's stop talking everybody into the buffer of like, make sure you wind up safe, and just be like, you can't miss the mark. If you follow your dreams and follow your heart, you literally can't miss the mark.
Yeah, and that's so true, because you hear so many parents, well, they're going to go to college where I went, and they're going to play football because I played it, or this or so. Yeah, absolutely. We pressure them. So my question too is, you focus on midlife women and helping them. Do you ever, help youth? Do you ever look at helping men? Because I know there are some personal trainers that they specialize in that, and that's the area that they want to concentrate in. Do you ever expand past that? If
Yeah,
there's
I
a
have.
man, if
Yeah.
there's a man listening to the show and he's like, hey, I love what Leslie's saying. I need help. I'm overworked, stressed, sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, that's okay. Yeah, I do help men. I've helped men quite a few times. And children, yes, when they come with their parents, right? So
Right.
typically, if the youth come, it's with a parent. I've done a lot of like mother-daughter combinations. I had a father-daughter once, but I have not had a father-son yet. But yes, and typically you come together in that. I always loved that. My biggest problem is that, so I saw a lot of kids when I worked in the Naval Hospital and things like that. And the problem becomes if the parent is open to the reception of the teaching versus
Right.
like, my child just needs to listen to what you say because it's their problem, not mine. Right. And it's like, well, to an extent, right? And
Right,
so that was
absolutely.
always my holdup of why I steered a little bit away from children. But typically when they come together, it's always just more helpful in that instance. So.
Awesome. Now, what would you say to somebody that's like, doesn't have that support function at home. In other words, let's just say it's me, right? I'm concentrating, I'm taking your advice, I'm working on myself, but my spouse is just not supportive, right? They're at night, they're wanting to, order fast food, and what would you how do you help in that area, or concentrate there? Because I'm sure you've heard that, right? I mean, I go
Mm-hmm.
home and I'm trying to eat healthy, and next thing my husband's bringing home McDonald's, right? And so what would you say to that?
Yeah, so I'm going to give three different things because I feel like there's three different answers that each person could need. Okay. And the first one is you can always only clean up your side of the street, right? I love
Mm,
believing that I'm on a long journey with my husband through all the winding things, but I can
right.
only do my side of the street, right? I can only clean up my lane. I can only do my part. I can't, if I swerve into his lane, we're bound to hit, right? Whereas if we
Absolutely.
parallel with each other, we're good to go, right? So sometimes I'm just like, okay, that's your thing. You want to order fast food? That's cool. That's you today. I'm going to, do something different. And,
Mm,
if budget becomes a play, then that has to be a conversation. Then I guess if you're ordering fast food for two, you're going to put that in the refrigerator and warm it up again tomorrow night. Right. You know,
right.
and that's how you can defeat the bill in that way. Right.
Hmm.
That's my number one. Number two, I will always go to Mel Robbins, Let Them, because she really talks about
That's
that in
right.
there. You know,
Absolutely.
she's
Yeah,
like,
she
when your
does.
husband doesn't want to walk, don't force him. Be like, okay, let him. Let him
Right.
sit there and eat the chips. Let him do all these things, right? Just like
Hmm.
pass that on. So I feel like that's a really good one. But then the third piece is to still cultivate the safety in your body. So one of the things is that I say this to all my clients. Food is food is food is food. Okay. Yes, I understand that, I live in Spain at the current moment, and the soil in Spain is completely different than the soil in the United States. Okay. I pass by a farm every day for the past 3 years, and every year they grow something different. They have yet to
Right.
repeat. But in the States, we don't do that, right? So I get this.
Hmm.
I understand what everybody's saying about all the things, but we know the power of our subconscious mind is stronger. So if you believe that food is food and food is friend and food can help my body in whatever way, then it can. When you not only believe it, but you have safety in your body. So I teach something called deep belly breathing, where you breathe in through your nose. And as you're breathing in through your nose, you're going to push your belly out like a Santa belly or a pregnant
Hmm.
belly. And then as
Right.
you exhale, you pull the belly back in. And if you do this somewhere between 4 to 7 times before you eat, you literally shift your vagus nerve. You welcome in safety, and thus it can rest and digest more appropriately for your meal. So that alone can help the digestion, which people are like, well, how is that going to help? I mean, a calorie from McDonald's is still not the same as a calorie from a healthy salad. And
Right.
I'm like, that actually is false. A calorie is a calorie. Just like a ton of feathers is the same as a ton of bricks. We just assume the ton of bricks weighs more, but they both weigh a ton,
Right.
right? So a
Mm,
calorie is a calorie. Okay. When we go down to, yes, McDonald's might have more terrible things that come from it than the salad, I still have to say, what's on your salad, right? Are you eating
right.
iceberg lettuce with ranch dressing and a whole bunch of sunflower seeds, chicken, cheese? You didn't shift that much, actually. You're almost
Right.
eating the same thing,
Mm,
right? So it's like, you can't say that. And that's where I just say, and I tell this to my kids all the time, food is food. People will tell them all the time, Mom, they say that there's sugar in the cereal that we eat. I'm like, there is. There is
right.
sugar in this cereal,
Yeah.
right? Is that a terrible thing? No. I was like, what else is in the cereal? Vitamins, minerals. How often do you eat the cereal? Not very often, right? It's like, right. Each thing has its place in time, right? We give our kids a multivitamin. That's really what cereal technically was created as, like a multivitamin back then, because of
Mm,
all the vitamins and minerals we shove in it. But cereal
right.
gets a bad rap, right? And so I like to just, food is food. It's your subconscious mind. I believe everything has its place. And when I cultivate safety in my body, along with that, I can do it. If I'm
Mm,
forced to eat fast food because I'm stuck in an airport for 24 hours and that's all I
right.
have, and I have this belief that fast food is going to make me sick, I'm going to be spending not my time in the airport, but in the airport bathroom, right?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so
Yes.
using this to your advantage of food can be food. And yes, we're still going to go towards more healthy food. But if we could take the stigma out of the negative we can increase our health tenfold in just the simplicity of the power of our subconscious mind and nervous system regulation.
Right. Now you mentioned that, being on trips in a way, and you have a blog post that I was very interested in when I was reading them, and it is that women actually lose weight eating vacation food, and I found that really interesting because you hear most people, they talk about, well, I'm going on vacation, and so I'll diet when I get back, or I'll start exercising when I get back because I know I'm going to eat bad. And so, I mean, you could even look at that during the holidays, right? I know I'm going to eat more and do this. And so, what's your philosophy behind that, that women actually, eat less or lose weight? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So sometimes they can eat less, but typically it's because their nervous
Right.
system gets to rest, right? They're fully
Right.
getting better sleep. They're taking more breaths. They're taking the time to be like, pretending that this is like a margarita, right? I'm sitting here
Mm-hmm.
on the beach with my margarita in hand, just enjoying life. And it's like, woo, this is a great day, And
Right.
so we take the time to slow down. And because we're no longer constantly in the like, have to do this 10,000 things, most people, it can shift a little bit when you go to like an Airbnb, because sometimes you do more cooking there. But when you're
Right.
not in your home, it's like, I don't have to vacuum. I don't have to sweep. I don't have to do these things. Right. And so there's
Mm-hmm.
a mental weight release, which decreases some of the weight on the nervous system, decreases some of the weight on the vagus nerve, and you can actually digest better. And so women come back, like majority of my clients will say, I lost weight on vacation. Right.
Right. That's
Because you're
awesome.
proving that slowing down is even more helpful. It's not about doing more. It's not about more hours in the gym. It's not about getting the right supplements and all that. Those all have their
Mm-hmm.
place. But
Right.
first has to be your mind body connection and the safety and the digestion code.
Right. So, what advice would you give anybody that's looking to start a career as a personal trainer or dietitian?
I would say start with an open mind that what's working for you will not always work for everybody else. Because
Right.
most people that like to go that direction want to heal themselves. It's a joke when you become a dietitian. What made you become a dietitian? Because you
Right.
had disordered eating, or are you a dietitian and now have disordered eating? Because we
Right.
all learn that, right? And for personal trainers, most people that like to personally train love to be in the gym. And so they think they know, right? It's like, oh, I had this, and so I now know how to help people. And I'm not saying that what you did as a person, right? You lost the weight, you did the things without the education. I'm not saying you have to go get a bunch of education. But what I am saying is that just because it worked for you doesn't mean it worked for somebody else. You are your own human, and that's that mind body piece, right? What works for
Right.
you could be completely causing someone else's fight, flight, freeze response to go through the wall, right? And
Right.
so I always just say, start with that in mind, that you have to be open-minded of how you're going to help people. It's not all going to look the same way, and it's not going to look the way that you thought it might.
Right. Now, do you work with clients that are just in one specific area, or do you also um, work with people virtually, like as a personal trainer? Like, do you do that? Do you expand out like that, or do you just have clients that are in your area?
I only do virtual typically. Even the clients that I've had
Okay.
that are in person with me, they choose to
Right.
stay virtual for whatever reason.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so far I've only ever done virtual. I'm not opposed to seeing people in person if they want to, but the majority is that way. I think it's just convenience. Like, I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to drive. Sounds great. You know?
Right. So
Yeah.
now, do you develop like personal plans for them in the gym? Do you go to the gym, walk on the treadmill 10 minutes, then today's upper body today, do you do those as well as the dietitian
Yeah.
and the voice and mindful part of it?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. There's an agreement, no matter what, if you work with me, that we will include that piece of like the mind
Right.
body connection.
Right.
Because if not, I don't ever say that you're like, I'm not right for you. Right. I believe you can still
Mm,
get your plan and you can still do whatever you want to do, but that's going to be through somebody else. If we
right.
don't do the mind body piece, like I tell them, it's a Band-Aid. It's a Band-Aid for everybody, every single person. Like, look at a football player, look at everything. Each one of those people all had their given plan and it worked, but it doesn't work for life without all of that. Right. And I mean, I love football players, but truthfully, those guys are under a lot of fight, flight, freeze stress, right?
Right.
Like, you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely. Yes.
and so
And
all
I
of
know
these
that light.
pieces have to be there. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know that light bulb just clicked with me too, because I'm like, you're right. I mean, on vacation, you're not worried about anything, right? I
Mm-mm.
mean, you're just there, you're relaxing. So that, yeah, absolutely. I firmly can see the three pieces and understand that. Now, how do you overcome those that are skeptical about maybe, the virtual personal training side of it, right? Like, I mean, mind, body, I mean, absolutely, because I mean, heck, you just helped me see the vacation part of it, but like, I mean, it's, she's not going to know. She's not here in the gym with me. So, she said 12, I'm at 10. I mean, do you have that conversation with them that, you need to follow this, or is it just the fact that they're active?
So far, I haven't stepped into anybody that has said no based on virtual.
Okay.
But
Right.
if somebody was hesitant for that, I would truthfully like say, so why don't you keep the personal training perspective in person and add these tools? Because there's no
Right.
reason why you can't have that person there talking to you while I do the rest with you, right? It doesn't all have to be through me. And I'm always like a pro person of, let's find you somebody else in your area. I love to joke about
Right.
Miracle on 34th Street, the ad that it's like, if we don't have it, we'll find somebody who does, right? And then it
Right.
like skyrockets their sales. That is truly how I work. I have probably about 50 other people that are friends of mine. They don't all do nutrition and personal training, but I have other people that do functional nutrition, that do a bunch of labs, that do this. I'm not to say I'm the end all be all, because I don't
Right.
want to be, right? So I want you to
Mhm.
be able to see the person that you want. So if you come to me and you're like, I know that I'm supposed to talk to you, that's great. I'm going to have a conversation with you. If at the end of the day, I'm not right, I'm not afraid to say, hey, listen, this specialist or this person is probably going to be better for you. And here's why. And then I do a connection and I hand them off, right? Like, I'm going to introduce you to this person because I know that they can help you. And you've had this
Right.
conversation with me, so it's helpful to have the conversation with them.
Awesome. Now, how do you give back? So, I know that, most people do you have a favorite charity? Do you give back, maybe free advice I mean, how do you give back?
Yeah. So I'm constantly giving free information on my YouTube channel. I probably do more videos than I should, since I keep getting all these people on YouTube that are like, you're not getting enough views on your videos, come hire me. And I'm like, what am I doing to
Right.
like drive you people to my inbox? I
Oh,
don't know, but it's
yes.
fine. It's
Yeah.
fine. It's fine. I bless and release. I'm like, thank you, but I don't need you. I'm cool with what's happening right now.
Yeah.
But my YouTube channel, my Facebook group, those are ways that I go live all the time. I give as much information there as I possibly can. In those instances, I love to do podcasts. Those are my favorites as well. And that's just me giving back that way.
Right.
For charities, I love Charity Water. Because
Okay.
I love, so Charity Water is really open about everything. You can literally see their financial statements. They do not make the money. Everything goes to the charity. The big funding people are actually paying the salaries of the people running it. And they basically go to like third world countries that don't have fresh water, and they help them install fresh water. So that way women and daughters actually sometimes have to walk like 5 hours to get fresh water,
Right.
and they carry these
Yeah.
packs and then they
Mhm.
walk back. And I love them because they're very transparent. You know where the money's going. If you donate $40 a month, I believe it is, every $40 allows one other highly populated area to get fresh water and saves
Wow.
hundreds of
Yeah,
people from
that's
walking.
awesome.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's my favorite one to get to.
Awesome. So now where can people find you?
Yeah, so I am on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Those are my main places. My
Mhm.
name, Leslie Urbas, is what you would look at on any of those places. And then if you look up digestion codes anywhere, everything is linked back to me, my Facebook group, all of those things. So any of those things, if you just Google digestion code, you'll find me. The top hit isn't me. It was actually a different podcast, but you'll find all my links through that podcast too. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll also put it on our website too. So if you're listening to this and you want to work with Leslie, we'll have those up as well. And so, Leslie, anything else you want to add? Anything you want to share?
No, I think I would just say, like, if you're thinking that your missing shift could be just around weight and health, you didn't miss the mark. If you stopped and you listened to this, your answer is you still have a solution. There's nothing you've missed. Now is the time to find it for yourself.
Right. Well, Leslie, we appreciate you being with us today. And yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.